usually eavesdrop on other people's conversations and have no clue what compelled me to listen in on this one. It was Sunday afternoon, and I was in the basement working on the hot water heater when I heard the phone ring. I didn't know what my wife Janet was doing at the time, and since the basement phone was nearby, I picked it up. Before I could say anything, I heard my wife on the upstairs extension. "Gary, you shouldn't have called here. What if John had picked up the phone?" I would have just told him it was work-related. Don't be such a worrywart. I just wanted to let you know that everything is arranged for tomorrow. We will be at the Desca Motel in room 117. Get there at 1 p.m. sharp. I'll have a bottle of drink chilling and some fresh strawberries. Don't forget to wear that black silk lingerie you mentioned. Okay, just make sure nobody sees us leave work or return together. You sound a bit anxious. Are you having second thoughts about this? No, everything is fine. It's just that I'm a little scared. I've never done anything like this before, and it's only natural that I should be worried. I'm not going to change my mind. Everything will be fine, I assure you. Okay, but if John ever found out about this, I would be devastated. I have to go before he overhears something. See you tomorrow at 1 p.m. sharp. Bye. I hung up the phone just as they did and sat there for about 10 minutes replaying the whole conversation in my head. Why on earth did I have to pick up that stupid phone? Janet and I had grown up together. We got married a year after we graduated from high school. She was the only girl I had ever been intimate with, and I assumed I was the only one she had ever been with. She was still attractive and maintained a nice figure. We had one son, Terry, who was a senior in high school. We didn't have many friends, and our entire life was centered around each other. I thought everything was fine between us, but apparently I was mistaken. I decided I didn't need to drain the hot water heater after all. There was some drink in the basement refrigerator, which helped to ease my pain. I figured I had 3 options. I could confront her directly and cause a big emotional scene. I didn't like that one. Second, I could drop a few hints or make some remarks that would lead her to believe I was suspicious. That option was a little more appealing to me than the first, but I figured it would only delay things to a later time when I might not be aware of it happening. The third option was to just let her go through with it. I liked that last one with a slight modification. I decided to let everything unfold as planned, but at the last minute, I would give her an out. If she took it, fine. If not, I would have to confront her. There were also 3 directions she could take. Maybe, if I were lucky, she would just change her mind and back out. I doubted that would happen. The second would be to take advantage of the last chance I would give her. That was a strong maybe. The last option she had was to go through with it, as much as I hated to admit it. That seemed like the most likely outcome. Okay, now that I sorted that out, I was ready to plan my approach. It was starting to feel like I could make a game out of it, and the more I thought about it, the more excited I became. After dinner, I would start some serious planning. First, I had to gather information, then get the game plan laid out. I worked for a security systems company for almost 20 years. They had been urging me for the past year to take over the Huntsville, Alabama office, but Janet didn't want to relocate. Janet had been employed by an insurance company for the last 10 years. She was doing well, but I never liked the guy she worked with, Gary Simmons. I know now that my suspicions were well-founded. Gary was married, and his wife seemed nice enough. I was upset that he wanted mine too. The move to Alabama would have been beneficial for Terry because he had his heart set on going to Auburn. The in-state tuition was much more affordable than the out-of-state tuition. While we were having dinner, I decided that I was going to accept the Huntsville position. It didn't matter what the outcome was the next day. I was still going to move. I would be able to file a declaration of domicile when I got there, and there would be enough time so Terry would be able to pay in-state tuition when he started school. I didn't feel it was necessary to say anything to Janet at this point, but decided to mention it to Terry after dinner. I would give notice at work the next morning, and could be on my way as soon as I got packed. Having that settled in my mind made the rest of the plans easier. Terry and I got along well, and when I explained that I was going to go down to Alabama ahead of the rest of the family, he thought it was a good idea. He agreed not to mention it to his mother. I didn't say anything to him about his mother's plans for the next day. I still hadn't figured out exactly what I was going to do, but I was confident everything would come together before the night was over. I told Janet I had to go to Home Depot for some supplies and took off. The first purchase was a disposable cell phone with a 60-minute calling card. I was going to be making lots of calls, and some of them I didn't want traced. I stopped by my usual hangout to see if I could get some help from old school friends who were less than reputable. I borrowed a car door, unlocking tool before leaving. One of the guys in the bar, who I didn't really know, was Wolf Fraser. He was a tough character, and everyone stayed away from him if they could help it. He drove a Corvette, and I noticed it in the parking lot as I went out. I grabbed a screwdriver from my car, and in less than a minute, I had Wolfie's license plate. I knew where he worked, so I could call him in the morning. Next came a trip to the Desca Motel. I stopped in the lobby, looked over the rack of tourist attractions and restaurants, and took what I needed. The clerk gave me some information about the motel, including a map and the phone numbers for housekeeping and room service. Time to go home. Janet was watching TV when I got there. I told her I had some work to do in the office, and she said she was going to shower and go to bed early because she had a big day tomorrow. While Janet was in the shower, I opened her briefcase and took out her planner and telephone notebook. I spent the next half hour writing down names and phone numbers. Then came the tedious part. I had to enter all the phone numbers in the speed dial on the disposable phone and on my own phone. I had a few more numbers to look up in the telephone book before I was done. It looked like I had everything ready when I finally crashed on the couch in the office. It was a restless night trying to sleep. I kept thinking about what Janet was planning to do, and wondered what I had done wrong to make her want to do it. By the time I fell asleep, I had convinced myself it was my fault and that I had failed somewhere somehow. Morning came and I had mixed emotions. I brewed coffee and set the breakfast table. Janet came downstairs looking stunning. "You look really nice today. Is it a special occasion at the office?" "What do you mean? I always look nice." "I know. I was just teasing you a bit." We skimmed the paper while we ate. The morning conversation was less than usual, but not enough to remark upon. I couldn't tell if she was tense or eager. "I have a lot of errands to run today. I might be a bit late for dinner," I said. "That's fine. I'll make something that I can keep until you get home. Is there anything in particular you might want?" "No, whatever's convenient will be fine." It was a feeble attempt at small talk on both our parts. She knew what she was planning to do, and I knew what she was planning to do, and we were both treading lightly. I arrived at work early and made all the arrangements for my relocation to Huntsville. After signing all the necessary papers and clearing out my desk, I visited a divorce lawyer's office. I got the forms and details I would need to file for the divorce if my final effort did not succeed. I went home and packed all my clothing and loaded them in the car, removed the hard drive from my computer and took all the files and documents that I thought I might need. Most of our savings and investments had been transferred into valuable coins, which I also took. The banks were open by this time, so I closed the accounts and canceled the credit cards. I knew I was acting prematurely on a lot of this, but didn't have much confidence in the likelihood of a change of heart on her part. I stopped by a florist and ordered a dozen red roses to be delivered precisely at 1:15. Throughout this time I had been checking my watch. Timing was going to be crucial. Around 12:30 I went to the motel and found a good parking spot where I couldn't be noticed, but would have a clear view of the room. I carefully got everything organized on the front car seat. Finally, Gary arrived. He stepped out of his car with a grocery bag that I assumed had the strawberries, bottle of drink, and who knows what else. He went straight to the room and then came back out to fill the room's ice bucket. As he prepared the room, I began my phone calls. First was pizzeria. "Hello, I would like 1 large pepperoni pizza to be delivered to room 117 at the Desca Motel. I might be taking a shower, so make sure the delivery guy knocks loud and long enough for me to hear him. 20 minutes is fine. Thanks." Second was a call to another pizzeria, followed by 2 more. The 5th call went to a restaurant where I ordered egg rolls and sweet and sour pork. I assumed that half of these would call back to confirm the order, but that was all right because the impact would be the same. Janet hadn't arrived yet, so the next call went to the motel housekeeping, where I requested some extra towels and another ice bucket. I figured it would take about 15 minutes for them to deliver. Finally, my dear wife pulled into the parking lot. She parked at the end of the building so her car would not be too noticeable. She left the car carrying a small overnight bag. When she got about 20 feet from the door, I called her on my speed dial. "Hi, honey, it's just me." "John, is something wrong? You don't usually call me at work in the middle of the day." "No, I was thinking about you and just wanted to call and tell you that I love you." "Oh, John, that's sweet. I love you too." "Okay, I'll let you get back to work. I'll see you later. Bye." "Goodbye, John, and thanks for the call." Janet ended the call, turned around, and walked into the motel room. That was her last opportunity, and she made her choice. A tear welled up in my eye as I resumed my phone campaign. The seventh call went to the local TV station. "Hi, is this the news station? There's something unusual happening at the Desca Motel. If you have a camera crew nearby, you might want to swing by and check it out." "No, I don't know what it is, but the police are on their way." "Okay, thanks." Call number 8 was coming up as I walked over to Gary's car. Fortunately, he had parked in a spot where I wouldn't be seen as I replaced his license plate with the one from Wolfie's Corvette. As I was walking over, I called Janet's office. She had a 3 o'clock appointment with someone named Rob Kelly. "Hi, this is Rob Kelly. I had an appointment with Janet Martin for 3, but I need to reschedule it. Could you please have her call me as soon as possible at 961-4452? I tried to reach her on her cell, but it was busy. Please have her call me as soon as she can." The number was a recorded message for a law firm specializing in divorces. I tossed Gary's license plate under his car after I replaced it with the new one. Then I walked to Janet's car and moved it to the back of the motel. While walking back to my car, I dialed the next number. "Hello, Mrs. Simmons. Your husband asked me to call you. He is having car trouble and needs you to pick him up right away. He is at the Desca Motel, room 117. You can reach him on his cell phone or call the room. The number is 961-7700, extension 117. No, I don't know why he didn't call you himself. It seems he is meeting a client, and a rather attractive one at that. Goodbye." Call 10 went to Acme Welding, where I asked Wolfie's supervisor to inform him that a white Honda in the Desca Motel parking lot had Wolfie's license plate on it. The next call was to the police, where I reported 2 individuals changing a license plate on a vehicle in the parking lot. I mentioned that something seemed off and just requested they check it out. I provided them with Wolfie's license number. The first pizza delivery arrived at the room. It appeared there was a disagreement, but Gary paid the delivery person, who then left. Call 12 was to Janet's mother. "Hi, Mom, it's John. I don't have much time. Janet is in a motel room with a man she works with. Could you please call her and ask her to reconsider what she's doing?" "No, I can't discuss it now. You have her cell phone number, and if you can't reach her there, try the motel at 961-7700, extension 117. I know it's upsetting, but I have to go. Please make the call now. Goodbye." 2 more pizza deliveries arrived at the room, at the same time as the maid brought additional towels. There was a lot of commotion at the door again, but after a few minutes, they all left. The next call was to the motel. "This is Mr. Simmons in room 117. My bathroom sink is leaking at the base of the faucet, and the water on the floor is starting to get onto the rug. Can you send someone over right away? Thank you." A large motorcycle roared into the parking lot, cruising slowly down the row of cars. Wolfie stopped right behind Gary's vehicle, but before he could do anything, a police car arrived. The biker and the officer were engaged in a heated conversation as I made my next phone call. "Mr. Granger, this is John Martin. My wife Janet works for you." "Yes, thank you. I'm glad to hear she is a good employee. However, at the moment, she is at the Desca Motel in room 117 with Gary Simmons, who also works for you. They are currently together, yes, I'm certain. You have a company policy against this sort of behavior, correct? I assume you have their contact numbers. Could you please call them to confirm or deny this situation? If you can't reach them, try calling the motel at 961-7700, extension 117. I no longer wish for my wife to work for your company, and would appreciate it if you would terminate her employment. If this is a breach of policy, perhaps Mr. Simmons should also be let go. I apologize for having to bring this to your attention. Thank you for your time. Goodbye." A delivery person from an Asian restaurant arrived at the motel. The officer was heading to the room, and Wolfie was gesticulating and shouting as he walked with him. Call number 15 was to Janet's sister. "Hello, Nancy. This is John. How are you? I'm having a bit of a problem right now. Janet is in a motel room with a colleague, and I'm on my way there. I don't want the police or reporters to find Janet in an inappropriate state. Could you please call Janet and ask her to get dressed before I arrive? I would really appreciate it. She is at the Desca Motel, room 117. If you can't reach her in her cell, try calling the room. Also, I moved her car to the back of the motel. She might not be able to drive. Perhaps you could drive over and pick her up. If you get there before I do, it would be helpful if you could take her home. Sorry, I can't talk now. Thanks for your help. Call me back as soon as you can, okay? The activity at the motel door was quite hectic. The maintenance worker had just arrived to fix the sink. The delivery person was trying to get paid while Wolfie and the officer were talking to Gary. The florist arrived to deliver the roses but was having trouble. It was time for me to leave. My work here was done. Here is the revised version. I passed the TV crew as I was leaving. I tossed the cell phone into the river on my way home. I stopped by the house briefly to say goodbye to Terry. I told him I would keep in touch and asked him not to give his mother a hard time over the next few days. I would have given anything to know what was happening in that motel room during the past hour. As I was leaving town, I made one more call. I wasn't sure if I would get through, but I tried anyway. Hi, Gary Simmons. This is John Martin. I just wanted to let you know that if you touch my wife, there will be serious consequences, do you understand? There was a hesitant response on the other end. Yes, I understand. I hung up and continued on to the interstate. About 8 hours later, my cell rang. The caller ID showed it was Janet. Hello? John, where are you? I'm on I-81, just outside of Knoxville. Why? John, what is going on? We need to talk. We don't have anything to discuss, Janet. Please, John, talk to me. Janet, I'll ask you 3 questions. Give me honest answers to all 3, and then we can talk. Okay. What did I say to you when I called you on your cell phone today? You said I love you. What did you do after you hung up the cell phone? There was a brief pause. I went into the motel room. Why did you go into the motel room? There was no response. Janet, answer me. For what reason did you go into the motel room? Another pause followed. John, I don't want to answer that. Goodbye, Janet. I turned off the cell phone and shut it down. I wouldn't need it for the remainder of the trip. Since the company was covering all moving expenses, I booked myself a comfortable motel room and enjoyed a delicious dinner. I needed to establish residency quickly, so I spent the next 2 days searching for an apartment. It was straightforward to find something nice and affordable because I wasn't too picky. I set up a new phone service and a mailing address. I changed the title on my car and obtained a new driver's license. I registered to vote and completed the declaration of domicile. I mailed all the paperwork to start the divorce process. Everything went smoothly, and I was soon prepared to begin my new job. I called Terry and provided him with my new cell number. I asked him not to share it with his mother, but mentioned I would understand if she pressured him. He didn't think it would be an issue. He said she had lost her job and was very upset. I asked if they needed anything, and he said they were managing fine. Terry was my only real link to the old place. A few weeks later, he mentioned that Janet received the divorce papers from the attorney. She simply signed them and sent them back the same day. He didn't think she even read them. Janet stopped wearing makeup and began selling off much of her clothing and jewelry. She started holding yard sales every other week, selling anything that wasn't firmly attached. I had granted the lawyer power of attorney so she could sell the house whenever she chose. I had no interest in the proceeds from the sale. Janet took a job at a bakery close to the house. Just before Terry finished high school, Janet put the house up for sale. She set the price so low that it sold almost immediately. The sale was contingent upon her and Terry staying in the house until Terry graduated. The buyers agreed without hesitation. Janet found an apartment within walking distance of the bakery and gave Terry the car to take with him to college. It was a small second-floor flat, and any furniture she didn't need, she left behind with the house. Terry helped her move and then headed for Auburn. By that time, she had disposed of nearly everything from the old house. Terry described the apartment as resembling a monk's room in a monastery. Although his mother had never denied him anything, she was depriving herself of everything. I could tell he was concerned about her. 4 years passed quickly. It was a 4-hour drive to Auburn from my place, and I didn't get to see much of my son. He was busy with school and his friends, and I was spending way too much time with my work. Janet had the title company send me a check after the sale of the house. It was for the entire amount. She kept nothing. I cashed it and put it in a folder I set aside for her. I bought a small house and spent most of my time doing fix-up and improvement type things. I didn't date or see anyone socially. I just wasn't interested. I longed for companionship but was not interested in getting close to anyone. Graduation day came and I drove down to watch my son get his diploma. We had assigned seats for the ceremony and Janet had the one next to me. I was glad to see her. even after the way we separated. She looked good but tired. She was a little older, and the lack of makeup and grooming made her seem a little sad. We smiled at each other and said hello. They were just starting to hand out the sheepskin, so there wasn't any time for small talk. I don't think either one of us knew what to say anyhow. It was all over too soon. The awkwardness of the moment was interrupted when Terry came over to see us. He was excited about getting his degree and was talking a mile a minute. It was great watching him enjoy his moment of glory. A few of his friends came over and introduced themselves, and then the whole bunch of them took off for Gulf Shores to celebrate. Janet and I were left with each other. "How did you get here?" I was trying to break the ice. "Bus, I have a round-trip ticket and have to get back to the station by 6. Can you give me a lift?" "No problem. How soon do you have to be back?" "I took a week off, but I can't stay here. I guess I will go back tonight and spend the rest of the week painting my apartment." "Sounds like fun. What's my alternative?" She laughed. "You could stay a few days at my place. I could even drive you back home from there if you'd like. It's better than the bus." "Anything is better than the bus. I don't think going to your place would be a good idea, though. It would be too difficult for both of us." "We never talked. I was mad at the time and cut you off. I didn't give you a chance to explain anything, and over the last few years I felt bad about that." "You mean, you want me to tell you about what happened now, after our lives have been destroyed?" "Is it too late?" "I think so. What can I say to you now that will make things right? You wouldn't listen then. Why would you listen now?" "I can't answer that. Even if we don't get to talk, I think I would still enjoy your company for a few days." "Are you sure you can't spare some time? I also took a week's vacation. Do you have any luggage?" "No, just what I am wearing. I wasn't planning on staying overnight." "We'll stop at Walmart and I'll get you a couple changes of clothes and you'll be all set. It's a 4-hour drive and I would really like to have company." "I can't envision any good coming from this, but I'll give it a try. If you do anything at all to upset me, I promise I will walk away without giving it a second thought." "Fair enough, my car is over this way." For the first few miles we didn't say anything. We got off near Birmingham and I got her some underwear, slacks, and a few tops. I also talked her into a pair of sneakers, but she refused to buy any makeup. I didn't push it, just hinted. A little further up the road we had supper at a Cracker Barrel. She always liked to eat there. We were moving along up I-65 at a good clip when she opened up. "To have intimacy." I looked over at her. "What?" "The answer to your last question was to have intimacy. I couldn't say it when you asked me on that day. I don't know why. Either I was too embarrassed or I didn't want to hurt your feelings. I just couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. After you hung up, I realized that you already knew, and it was stupid of me to deny it. I tried to call you back, but you turned your cell phone off. I knew then that my life had ended." "You broke my heart." "I know, and I don't know how to make it right. I have laid awake so many nights trying to figure out how to make up for it and can't come up with a thing. After a few years, I decided that there was nothing that I could do to make things better. I couldn't think of anything to say. She seemed to be doing fine on her own. If you knew what was going on, why didn't you stop it?" "I couldn't stop it. Only you could do that." "You could have said something." "No, if you had known that I knew, you would have not done it for the wrong reasons. Knowing that you were caught, or might be caught, was not a good reason for you to not go through with it. You had to stop it because you knew it was wrong, not because you were going to get caught. Am I making sense here?" "Yes, you are, but I still wish you would have said something." "I did. The last phone call." "You mean the one where you said you loved me?" "That's right. I felt that I gave you the opportunity to stop before you got started. I gave you the chance to make the decision. It was a test and I failed it. I was so stupid. I won't debate that. Did you love him?" "Gary? Heavens no. Gary loved his wife as much as I loved you. We were just friends." "I don't understand. Was it lust or what?" "Gosh, no. It was nothing like that at all. It was more platonic than anything else. Gary and I were just friends. We had no desire whatsoever to make our relationship any more than that." "Well, how the hell did the two of you end up going to a motel to have intimacy?" "It's a long story. We still have an hour till we get to Huntsville." Gary and I worked together for almost a year. We talked about a lot of different things over time. One of the things that came up was lovemaking. During our conversation, it came to light that neither one of us had ever had intimacy with anyone other than our spouses. We weren't complaining about having intimacy with our spouses because both of us were happy with things as they were, but we did become curious. The more we talked about it, the more comfortable we became with it. I don't know which one of us brought it up, but we finally started discussing the probability of lovemaking with each other just to see what it would be like. No strings attached, and it would be a one-time deal. It was more like two adults playing doctor, or maybe like, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that is how it all came about. Did you ever think what the downside of this might be? Never occurred to either of us we had gotten to the point where doing it was going to be just about like going to the movies together. I don't know about Gary, but I didn't think you would ever find out about it so you wouldn't be hurt. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. How did Gary's wife take it? She was going to divorce him. I went to see her and explained everything to her just like I did to you. She didn't go through with the divorce, but I don't think their marriage was ever the same again. Gary was fired when I was, but he protested it. It went to an arbitration board. He claimed he didn't violate company policy because we never had intimacy. The board didn't buy it. They moved to Baltimore and I never saw them again. I was glad when we arrived at the house. The conversation we had was long overdue and it was a little stressful. Some of it was hard for me to hear. I put Janet in my bedroom and I took the guest room. After making sure that she had everything she needed, I said goodnight. Tomorrow there will be more conversation. I hoped it would be more pleasant than the talk we had today. The next morning she had breakfast waiting for me, the first time in a long time that I didn't have to get my own. So tell me about the intimacy with Gary. You jerk, you know there was no intimacy and you also know why. I guess I ruined a romantic afternoon for you. Get real, you know the situation, and even though he brought drinks and strawberries, it was not a romantic get-together. Don't make it worse than it was. Well, did you guys do anything? Oh yeah, we answered a dozen telephone calls and we answered another dozen knocks on the door. Some nasty idiot had everybody and their brother either calling us or knocking on the door. The closest we got to lovemaking was when I took my shoes off. You didn't have a good time. It was the most miserable half hour I ever spent in my whole life. While that biker was trying to get in the room to grab Gary, I was able to sneak out. When I saw my car was gone, I started to cry. Just then, Nancy pulled up. You called my sister, and worse than that, you called my mother. She still isn't speaking to me. I'm sorry if I ruined something that was so important to you. I accept full blame for what I did. It was a rotten thing to do. Say, oh no you don't, the blame is all mine, and if you think you can jump in here 5 years later and take credit for everything that happened, you are crazy. It was my doing. It was my fault. I am to blame, and don't you ever try to take that away from me. I didn't wallow in misery for all these years just so you could pull it out from under me. I still feel partially responsible and should assume some of the blame. Don't do it. When I went into that motel room, I lost all my self-respect. I will never be able to get that back. At least, when you made your phone calls, you saved my virtue. I still have that, and I thank you for it every day. I only wish there would have been a way for you to do something earlier, but I understand now why you couldn't. It is a sad thing, John. I love you, and I have always loved you. I didn't want to hurt you, and for that, I am truly sorry. I won't ask your forgiveness because I don't feel that I deserve it. Losing your love and trust has hurt me more than anything else you could do to me. Janet, you never lost my love. I am glad to hear that, John, but what about the trust? Sorry, that's gone, and I don't know how I can ever get it back. I understand, and that is only fair. What are we going to do for lunch? How about sushi? Sounds great. Are my clothes okay? We had a good time that afternoon. After lunch, we did a little more shopping to get Janet some outfits that didn't make her look like a nun. I even got her to buy a little lip gloss, but nothing too dramatic. We had a light supper, soup and some cheese and crackers, and then we sat down with a nice glass of drink. It was nice to see Janet returning to her old self. The more time we spent talking, the more comfortable she seemed. Are we going to have intimacy tonight, John? I don't know, I still have some issues. What issues? Well, I am afraid that if we make love that I might be thinking about you and Gary the whole time. I am a little anxious because I don't know how it will go. That's nothing and you know it. Well, how would you know? I'll tell you how I would know. About 30 years ago when we first started going together, you told me that you fantasized about Pam Kramer, the cheerleader. Do you remember that? Did I really tell you that? Yes, you sure did. And every time that we made love for the next 4 or 5 years, all I could think about was that you were having intimacy with me and thinking about Pam Kramer. You are kidding, right? No, I am not kidding. Now the shoe is on the other foot and you can't handle it. I had to put up with it, and I don't see why you can't. Well, whom do you think about when you are caressing yourself? That's none of your business. Come on, we all fantasize. Who is your dream lover? Okay, most of the time it is you, even after we separated. What do you mean most of the time? Who is it the rest of the time? You really want to know? You aren't going to laugh? No, I promise I won't laugh. Mel Gibson. You are kidding. No, I am not. I have always dreamt about having intimacy with Mel Gibson, and I don't think there is anything abnormal about that. He is a very desirable guy. Which brings up another question. For the last 5 years, whom have you fantasized about while you were getting rid of your tensions? Mostly you. I still think about you a lot. Same question back at you. What do you mean mostly? Well, sometimes I think of Gary and you together. You are sick. You fantasize about Gary and me making love so you can get your jollies off. Not exactly. After your tryst, I wondered why you would want to have intimacy with Gary. I didn't have any answers, so I assumed that he was a better lover than I was. I was sure that I had failed as a partner in some way, and I convinced myself that you were looking to upgrade. I used to think about how he would please you. After a while, I found myself getting excited, not thinking about Gary having intimacy with you, but about you getting pleasure. I found it erotic that you were getting pleasured and blocked out the fact that it was with another man, even in my fantasies. Okay, we're even. Now deal with it. I'm going to take a shower, and after that we are going to make love. You can think about Pam Kramer, and I am going to think about Mel Gibson. It's settled. Tomorrow morning we are going to go and get my stuff, and I am going to move in with you. Can you handle it? Are we going to get married? No, I can't marry a man who doesn't trust me. Maybe in a couple of years we will talk about it again. Oh, I see. You want to stay single just in case another guy like Gary shows up. You're an idiot. One more remark like that and I'll smack you upside the head. Now go disconnect the phones. I don't want to be interrupted. It only took about an hour to load her stuff in the car. Terry was right. She really did get rid of almost everything. She sold the furniture that was left to the landlord for $200. As I finished loading the car, she went over to the bakery and told them she was leaving. Shortly after that, we were on the interstate heading south. I looked over at her and we both smiled. I have just one more question, and I won't bring it up again. Okay, what is it? Where did you get a Mel Gibson poster?